Hi guys, Oliver here. We're still in lockdown, and that's certainly not the nicest thing for a landscape photographer when you can't go out, but luckily there are other fields in photography where we can be active when our shutter finger is getting itchy. One of these fields is macro photography, and this is what we're going to talk about today. Well, to me it all started a few days ago when I took the dust off my macro lens, which I owned for quite a few years, but I've never really used it, and created this image here. Well, a screw is a rather small object, but today we're going even smaller, and I have a few props prepared here, like a dandelion clock, which I found somewhere outside my garden. It is already pretty small, but we are going to focus on a single seed of that dandelion clock. Can you see it here? These tiny little objects, let's see if we can make something lovely, something beautiful even out of it. A piece of macro art. Let's talk about a little bit of gear first. I'm taking my 7D, the crop camera. I choose this for macro photography over my full frame. I also have my old Canon 100mm f2.8 macro. It's the old version, not stabilized. Got that years ago on the second-hand market for a small budget, so it doesn't really need to be very expensive. What is also helpful is my tripod. And let's set that stuff up first. Okay, got the camera on the tripod. Got a little video light here. That's just for demonstration purpose. I also have a few flash guns prepared, one here, another one there with just a little diffuser, and a third one here, which will make it a little easier for me to position it correctly. Because I'm working with off-camera flash, I need my remote trigger. It goes onto the camera, and we are ready to go. There is one more item, which is a so-called extension tube. This one here is a 25mm extension tube. And what that is for, let me demonstrate you with a little video. So, I have my little video light set up, and here is that little dandelion clock. I played around with it yesterday, and because of the water it created some sort of funny shape. Let's see if we can make something out of it. What I've done here, I have the camera on the tripod, and the manual focus is the closest focus distance. When I'm now bringing in my subject closely, or as close as possible, until we have the center of our little subject nicely in focus, then we are having that image size here and the shot taken. And what I'm doing now, turning the camera off, take the lens off and attach that extension tube. And we're doing exactly the same. Take the shot, and I think you can clearly see the difference. So the extension tube allows us to get a little closer in with our subject. As you can see in these two images, both of them are not sharp from front to end. And it's even worse in the one where I use the extension tube. That means you basically have no choice other than focus stacking. Because I do not have a macro rail here, so the only option I have is using the autofocus of the camera to do that. So what I'm doing here, I'm taking the first image with the lens focused to the closest distance, and what I want to have in focus is the part of the object closest to me. So I'm taking the first shot. Here it is, and now I'm simply going in very small steps, focusing in, and take shot after shot. That's plenty. You may have wondered, I was just looking through the viewfinder, purist, so if you want to be in total control, you better do it in live view on even 10 times magnification, but that should be sufficient for now. Okay, so part 1 is done. Now let's see how we can create some art out of this. Let's work our way in. What I've done now, I've replaced that little seat we've just played with another one, and I have chosen one that has no hair and one of the sides, and that side points towards the camera. The reason is we're going to work with water later on and a few water droplets, and I don't want to have any droplet in the foreground disturbing the view to the main subject, which is going to be hopefully a droplet right in the center of it. So what I've done here, I have positioned it where I want it, and when we're double checking closest focus distance, I really can make sure that with a little focus stacking later we will have everything in focus from foreground to the back. The next step is we're replacing the background. I don't want to have that dark background, I want to have something powerful, something colorful and intense. And what I've done here, got a few flowers. We're taking them and I'm preparing one. Okay, what I have here is one of these little mini tripods, and I've just attached something here. Taken one of the flowers out. I can't cut them, the missus will kill me. So I have some rubber bands around here. Let's just use them. See if we can deal with that. There we go. And move it in nicely. Okay, that distance should be fine. There won't be anything of that little tripod in the image later on. So now let's just see if we can position it to the right height. Ideally we want to have it in the line of the lens and nicely centered. Double check that. That looks quite alright. So let's double check it in the light. Turn a little video light on. That'll be fine. Actually, I'm just thinking, I'm very surprised that little video light here seems to work rather well. Maybe we don't even need to have a flash. Good, I'm going to take one first test shot. You should be able to see that, yep, that we have the center of that flower. So it looks like this one, kind of pink on the outside with a yellow center. But we have that nicely centered and aligned. Let's see what happens here. I need my glasses, doesn't work without. When I put that in focus, that alone would already almost make a shot. Yeah, doesn't look too bad. Okay, now we need to do a little pimping. Let's start with some water. Got a little spray flask here, and let's try to carefully attach some water on the top of that little seed head. And we can already see some effect building up here. Yep, it's getting too heavy, it needs to be realigned. I'll be back in a moment. So now as everything is set up properly, let's just put a little more water on it and see how it happens here. And do it very careful. And the droplets are building up nicely, just making sure I'm not drowning my camera. That already looks beautiful. Feel free to use the live view. Most people would recommend it even. I am not adding any more external light. I'm going back to my closest focal distance. 1/13 of a second. Let's check the histogram. Yeah, I think That's alright. Good. What we're doing, we are 13th of a second, f8, and I'm now slowly going to work my way in, as I showed before, and I'm going to speed that a little up for you. So, that is more than I initially wanted to do, but my little test run yesterday I found out better do it in smaller steps. And yeah, just to make sure you have one shot that shows every part of the image in focus. Why? I'm going to show you later in the post-production part. But now let's do something different. We're changing the background. I just keep the dandelion seed as it is, and I'm just putting on a different background. I'm back in a moment. Okay now, so with my little rubber band technology here, I put a white flower with just a tiny little bit of yellow in the heart on. And now let's see if we can position that. Yep, I think that looks alright. What I'm doing now is exactly the same I did before. Going back to my minimum focus distance. I have my remote shutter, makes it a little easier for me, and work my way in with the first click. Yep, double check the histogram, looking pretty good, and I'm going to work my way in. Alright, that looks pretty good to me so far, but I mean that is only a tiny little preview screen here in the back of the camera. What we're doing now, we're going to the other computer, transferring the images and see what we got. So, transferred everything onto the computer and did the processing. How I processed them and how the focus stacking works, that's material for the next video. That's going to be coming soon, so stay tuned. For now, I would just like to show you the final results. There are a few glitches, but overall I'm quite happy with it. But why don't you have a look yourself? Okay, these are the results. As you've seen, there was quite a lot of experimenting involved and improvising even. Yeah, I've made a few mistakes, a few glitches are in the images, but bear in mind, for my very first attempt in doing something like that, I'm quite pleased with it. I'm actually very happy with the results. Good. What I will do now, I grab my camera and practice, because practice makes perfect, hopefully. But before I do that, I will finish the focus stacking tutorial for you. So stay tuned, and the processing video will be available soon. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon.